Welcome to this episode of the Vastness of Google podcast, where I am breaking down a particular day in history, breaking down the astrology of that day. I'm looking at somebody's natal chart if they were to be born on that day. And today we are looking at the particular day in history of June 19th, 1988. And I picked this date out very, very selectively because I know that somebody who is on social media who was born on this day this year. And I'm going to be kind of describing her, not naming her, but tying some of this into her as I go through all this information of the astrology of this particular day. So let's start out with the sun placement. The sun represents, if you're hearing the loud motorcycles running by the house, then I apologize if you just heard that. Alright. The sun is our vitality. It's who we want to show up in the world. It's what kind of image we want to project out into the world. And so the sun is our sense of self-expression, how we express ourselves. And one of the really, really big themes with this chart is verbal self-expression. And you're going to see why. Yet it's not what you think it is. And I'm going to get into that. So self-expression is the sun. And that is what it is. So, getting into the sun sign is Gemini. This person is a Gemini sun. At the very, very end of Gemini. I believe at 28 to 29 degrees of Gemini. Almost at the very, very tail end. So this is somebody who is very evolved when it comes to Gemini and all that Gemini is about. Like, Gemini is, talking, communication, learning, and all these kind of things. And this person has really, really grown as a soul. And they are very, very evolved in this way when it comes to learning all these lessons. Because when the sun starts out at the very, very beginning of the sign, it starts very, very small, and then it starts at a very unevolved level, and then it grows as it goes through the last 30 days. So this person is very, very evolved, has maybe gone through many, many lifetimes in a way where they are evolved when it comes to expressing their Gemini energy. So self-expression is a really, really big theme. Like, self-expression is really huge for this person. Authentic self-expression, huge. Very, very significant. This person is all about being their authentic self. And they do this through expressing in very Gemini ways of talking and communicating, expressing themselves through communication. And through being very flighty with their ideas of things. So they are looking for others to stimulate their mind. Like they're looking, this particular individual is always looking for the next thing to stimulate, the next podcast, the next book, the next, TV show, or, whatever the stimulus is to stimulate their mind. Like, if it can stimulate my mind, and at this point of Gemini, you're pretty evolved, then that's a good, very, very good thing for you. Now, a trait that is very, very common with somebody born on this particular date is that they have a genuine curiosity for life that is unbiased. That is a curiosity that doesn't have any bias, like in terms of your projection. Like, this person's very, very big on projection. Very big on that, and not giving in to the qualities of projection that are negative. And, I will say that I have interacted with this person in the past, actually, on social media. And I have sort of, projected onto this person in negative ways that I regret doing that. I was projecting my own ideas onto this person. So anyway, that's the note on projection that I just want to throw in here. But they have a curiosity for life. They just are so curious without the, without the bias or the, or the opinions that get in the way of just learning. Like Gemini is a sign that's just neutrally curious. And this person has been through, kind of all of these lessons of Gemini, where they have are very, very curious, and this suggests to me that this person is this evolved, that they believe in speaking as much as they do in listening. Like the high-rated Gemini is not just talking all the time, using your voice, but it's also listening. It's also hearing the other person and what they're saying. And this person not only is a great communicator and loves to talk and share ideas, but also great at listening to others and being receptive to others in that way. So another thing about Geminis is that they're very, very objective and observant. There's an objective quality to them where they are not getting caught in the emotions of things. They're very, very, like this is, like Geminis are very, very objective. They're very much about the logical mind. And they're very, very observant. So this person just observes a lot of things in their physical environment. Like Gemini is about the details of your physical environment. So you're absorbing all these details. All these little details of your environment. The shoes, the dresser, the house, the details in the book, all these kind of little details. So, another thing is that they may be kind of, Geminis may be very, very all over the place. And in a way, with this being all over the place, they may have a short attention span. And I do think that this person being a late degree Gemini has evolved this and has a longer attention span where they have stretched their attention span out in a way where they have, really, because that's one of the things that Gemini can suffer from is having a short attention span. So having a short attention span, not being able to focus on one particular thing for a long period of time, like the attention span of an owl. Like your Gemini is focused on this thing over here, then focused on another thing over there. So that's Gemini energy. Now, they're also very, very interesting people to be around because they're very stimulating. This person is very, very stimulating. It has all these very profound spiritual ideas to bring about. And so, very, very interesting to be around. And they want to make light of life. Like Gemini just wants to just have fun, turn every negative thing. Like Gemini wants to turn all the depression, all the heavy emotions. Like it doesn't want to get caught in the emotions. It wants to be light and free and caught in the very, very good side of life. The happy side of life. The more positive, light-filled side of life. And so that's a trait with this person. They may express them, so this person expresses herself very, very easily, has no problem putting herself out there and expressing her real self. And so that's the trait with Gemini energy, is that they put themselves out there very, very intellectually and express themselves. Now, another thing is they may take on too many things at once. They may have all these little projects that they're doing. Where they're doing this thing over here, then that thing over there, where they spread themselves out too thin, where they may, not focus on a particular direction and say, okay, I'm focusing my attention and energy on this, and so you're just doing this over here, this over there, and not really focusing, you're not really grounding that energy to something cohesive and something, focused. Now, with this comes a reflective and soul-searching quality, which is very, very common, very, very huge for this person. This person is very, very reflective of herself. Very, very reflective, very contemplative, claims a lot of her content is contemplations of things, so very, 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 very reflective over. Now, I may be giving some details away about this individual, but I'm just going to say what feels natural to say without holding myself back. So, very, very reflective over things, and very, very soul-searching. That's another quality, is being very, very soul, like searching into this, your soul, like searching for what you really want in your soul and what the real emotions are going on within you. So an aspect that's going on, there's several aspects that I want to chat about here. The first one is the sun is sextile the moon. It's the very, very first aspect. So this brings about harmony when the sun sextiles the moon. There's an appreciation of harmonious surroundings, like the beautiful trees, the beautiful branches, the beautiful street lamps that shine in the night. All these harmonious aspects of life. They may feel very, very, for those who have this, this individual is very self-confident. Like very, very aligned with the heart and the mind. Self-confident in herself. Very, very confident in her abilities and what she wants to express, and very secure within herself. And this person has not always been secure within herself and about herself, but she is becoming that. She is evolving into that, and she is growing into that day by day. So she is becoming more secure and centered within herself. So, very, very easygoing, incredibly chill, incredibly congenial, very, very easy to get along with, no expectations or no uptight, high-strung qualities. Very, very easygoing personality. And so, there may at times be too much acceptance of the self and others. Too much of this acceptance going on that can be, where you're not choosing to take action and actually change the things, but just accepting, you absolutely should accept yourself as you are. But when you get into that, don't become, like part of self-love is actually improvement. And to show that you love yourself is to improve in ways that you show that you love yourself. If you're stuck in the same comfort zone and not growing, not changing, then they're not growing. You're not evolving. So that's kind of the trap that they can get into. So very, very strong physical constitution, very, very strong body. And then the other thing is wanting to put yourself out there. This person, has a YouTube channel, has, Instagram, has all these, platforms where they put themselves out there and share what they have to say from their heart that is authentic. This person's all about being their authentic self. So the sun opposite Saturn is yet another aspect going on with this. And so what this brings about is just this feeling of unluckiness. This feeling of lack of luck. Like not feeling particularly prosperous or fortunate in life. Like feeling like they've got the short end of the stick, or they're very, very, down when it comes to life and all that they need to do in their life. There's just this unlucky feeling that's like, I can't feel good, or I can't feel fortunate because I'm stuck in this. And they also go through challenge, because Saturn represents obstacles and challenge. So they go a lot of challenge related to their ego, and they're expressing their personality. Like there may be a lot of limitations to this person expressing their personality and expressing who they are in this life, which I think is definitely true about this individual. So they may also take things very personally when others, when it comes to their failures. If they were to fail and not succeed at something, if they were to suffer any any fallbacks when it comes to them pursuing something and going on and pursuing something, then it doesn't happen. And they may be very, very harsh with themselves in a way where they are beating themselves up for these kind of mistakes and these failures. Because Saturnian energy, Saturnian people can put a lot of pressure on themselves. Capricorn moons especially can put a lot of pressure on themselves. Now, if they truly believe that they are deserving of peace, love, and happiness, then they will lean into the energy of peace, love, and happiness. That's the thing. Because it's just a mindset. Like what your mindset is determines your life. So if you think that you deserve all these things, then you will live a life in alignment with that. This person also has a very, very strong sense of inner authority, and doesn't really want an outer authority to tell her what she should or shouldn't do. She has a lot of autonomy with having a solid sense of inner authority with this is what I should do, and this is the principle, and this is the kind of disciplinarian inside myself to keep me on track with all these things. There was also this dialogue going on, like this guilt, like I shouldn't be engaging in this, I shouldn't be indulging in this, I shouldn't be allowing myself to have this, I shouldn't be doing all these things. There's this shouldn't, there's this guilt, there's this rejection, and not encouraging yourself to do those things and engage in those activities. So one of the qualities with this aspect is lowering your standards you set for yourself. Like not being so high when it comes to your standards. Because you can be very, very, have a lot of high standards and have a lot of, very, very, set structures for yourself and just these high expectations for yourself. Like Saturnian people can have a lot of high expectations, where lowering that is very, very important for them. Then finally, there's an opposition between the Sun and Uranus, the Sun at the very end of Gemini, Uranus at the very end of Sagittarius, which may make this person really question a lot of things in their life, like asking questions, like questioning the status quo, questioning tradition and authority. And as someone who is focused on authenticity, this is what they do, is they question structures that limit them. This person doesn't want to be limited by the status quo. This person wants to question what is actually going on when it comes to the traditions and authority of what's going on. Yet they are also set in their ways. Like there's a stubborn need to be set in their ways. Even though they question things and want to liberate and change themselves, they're still set. Now the moon is in Leo. And the moon is at the very end of Leo. So, there's this dynamic of this sun and moon being at the very end of their signs. So, again, very evolved. So the moon in Leo brings about, the moon is your emotional responses to things, how you act in your environment, what triggers you in your environment, what things, aspects of your environment seem to, trigger you or bolster you up into whatever you want to act upon. And so, the moon in Leo at worst can be overly self-indulgent. And, and that's something to be careful about, where they can become lazy because of this over self-indulgence. Self-awareness is very, very important for moon in Leos, to be aware of how I'm coming across to others and not becoming so, so totally absorbed in the self and totally absorbed into, what you want and, what you have to say and what you want to express, and valuing and considering others. So there's this laziness. Now there's also this love to put on parties and entertain. There's just this need to go big in life. There's just need to entertain. So putting on, even if it's doing something for yourself that you feel good about inside yourself. I could just picture just a Sunday where you're just making a grilled cheese in your kitchen, just kind of like Just this, entertaining yourself and entertaining others kind of thing. Now, there is this need with Leo that's very, very controlling. It's a fixed sign. It's a fixed energy. So this person is very mutable, and you're going to see this, but there is this fixed quality in this person. This person is immovable. This person has a lot of control and wants to be in control of their lives. Even though Gemini is very, very curious and very bend with the wind, this person needs to be in control when it comes to this Leo moon needing to control themselves in their life and also their family and friends. Now, when their pride and when their ego is hurt, they can be very, very dramatic and openly and outwardly express this kind of thing and make it known to others. And when I projected on this person, they outwardly, made it known to others out there. They outwardly made a video about it and, did all this. So, so big scenes when they are, when their pride is hurt, they tend to do that. Now, there is a fair sense here of fairness and justice. There's a strong sense of, I have these strong ideals that I want to act upon. These strong sense of, fairness, equality, authenticity in this person's case. So they are really wanting to put that out. And very expressive. Just like the Gemini Sun energy. The Gemini Sun is very social and very expressive. The Leo Moon, very, very expressive. They are living this life to express themselves. This person is all about creative self-expression in very Gemini ways. Talking, communicating, sharing ideas, bouncing ideas off of others in very creative, dramatic kind of ways. Big ways. And another trait is this emotionally demanding quality. This kind of quality where you're demanding a lot from others on the emotional level, demanding to be respected, demanding to be honored and loved for who you are. Now, the moon is square Jupiter. This is an aspect that's very, very important in this individual's chart. Because it may suggest, even though this person is very much about holding space for others and doing all this, what can happen with this is indifference. You don't care about others as much as you should. You kind of have very, very empathetic qualities, yet there's some indifference here. There's some not caring and considering others, others' lives and others' awareness, and so absorbed with yourself, because Jupiter is overindulgence and Leo is, yourself and your self-expression. So there is this tendency to go on being so absorbed in yourself and being indifferent to others. In terms of money, you may get money and spend more than you earn in some cases, because of this need to indulge in life and make the most out of life. So you get money, but you just want to spend all of it and spend all of it on these luxury items and on these things that you really want. That could be a possibility here. Now, it may be very, very challenging for others to understand this individual on a mental, emotional level. Yet this person makes it very, very clear who they are in that way. So they seek prosperity that is from their heart. Prosperity from their heart. And with these videos, I'm not going through the houses. That's just another layer of difficulty. I'm just going through the placements and the aspects with this. So, they seek prosperity that is from their heart. Or they don't, actually, which is what they're working on. They're working on prosperity and the things that make them feel prosperous that is genuine to them. That's a genuine need to feel prosperous. That's something very, very important with this placement is, prosperity from your heart. Actively seeking out this, prosperity that is genuine prosperity. I'm kind of repeating a lot of the same point. I don't have a, voice in my head right now. So anyway, they're very, very big-hearted, very, very generous, loving individuals. Now, The moon is conjunct Lilith. It's kind of, well, this is an out of sign conjunction. I don't want to really go into too much depth about this because Lilith is in Virgo, and I'm going to be discussing that a little bit later. But she this shows that she may embrace all the very, very difficult emotions, all the very dark stuff, and all the difficult emotions. And that is certainly true. This person is very open about her shadows and her, own personal things that she is dealing with as she is going through life. And so, very, very open about all this stuff. Very transparent about all this stuff. Now, the ascendant is in Taurus. So this person is very, very committed and fixed. Like, Taurus people are in it for the long game. They have a goal and they will stay committed to it. This is a fixed sign. If they have a goal, they're going to stay committed. And they're all in. Fixed signs are all in with what they want. So, and they won't end relationships easily. They won't end these things very, very easily because Taurus is a fixed sign that stays in those relationships. It stays in those relationships until the bitter end, even if you're, not very, not very, committed, or, excuse me. Taurus is like, I'm staying in this relationship till the bitter end because this feels so comfortable to me. This feels so familiar to me. And so there's this discomfort with getting out of it. So there's this need to not end relationships so easily and just stay in it until the bitter end of it. So Mercury is, now this is so interesting about this person's chart. Get this. They have a Gemini stellium, Sun in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Saturn in Sagittarius, Uranus in Sagittarius. That is so interesting. This person has a very unique, interesting chart. Both Mercury and Venus are retrograde. Both. And very, very close together in degree. In the same sign, which is incredible to me. Mercury is in Gemini. Let's just first talk about the Mercury in Gemini, because communication is very, very huge for this person. This person expresses their authentic self and is compassionate with themselves and does this through communication. Mercury in Gemini is very, very communicative, very social, and does this, but it's retrograde. So this means that this person is very reflective of their ideas, of what they want to say, and really think about what they want to say before they want to say it, and what the impact of their words have on others. Like, they're very, very reflective. And this person's ideas are very deep and very insightful. This person's very insightful with her ideas. Very, very profound thoughts. Having a lot of very profound thoughts about, their ideas and what they want to say. Like very, very deep thoughts. And that's very much Mercury in Gemini retrograde. Now Mercury in Gemini can be very, very scattered. Very, very, they may be very, very reflective of this, where they are just scattered around doing, all these things and having, all these things going on at one time, because that's Gemini energy. They may be very, very interested in a lot of different things, but they need to choose a particular focus. Like, they may be just so curious. This person just has so much enthusiasm for life and so much open-mindedness and curiosity. It's just, it's like there's not a huge off button to this kind of thing. Like it's just, and I think that this person feels maybe internally like they don't have an off button to their words or their curiosity. And because Gemini, at worst, doesn't know how to limit themselves and have an off button, and Gemini is learning to limit themselves and understand the importance of healthy limitations in this life. So they're interested in so many different things that they need to pick a lane, that they need to pick a particular direction that they are going in. Because if they, they don't do this, and they, are kind of scattered all around. So picking a direction. Now, Mercury is conjunct Venus. Get this. Mercury retrograde in Gemini, Venus retrograde in Gemini, both conjunct in the same sign retrograde. That is amazing. Very, very rare to have that in your chart. Both personal planets retrograde in the same sign. Very, very rare. So this person has a very rare chart. So Mercury conjunct Venus. Now, how they speak and how they write, and how they communicate, there's an artistic quality to this. There's a, like they communicate in ways that are very, very soft and very loving and very creative ways, very, very artistic. Like this person is very, very soft-spoken, very compassionate, very kind and considerate with her words, wants to smooth over the rough edges, communicates to you in a very compassionate, loving way where this person is holding space for you and who you are through her content. So, Mercury square Mars is the next aspect. And this may mean that this person may just throw themselves into things and going into things all in, and giving into negative temptations that they shouldn't be giving into. There's just this, I'm throwing myself into all these things in life and I'm just putting myself full on and I'm going full on with this. Moving on to Venus. Venus represents what you value. Venus is retrograde in Gemini, so this person, what this suggests to me is that Venus retrograde in Gemini is very, very reflective of who they want to socialize with, who they want to interact with, like very, very deeply reflective of the need to, very, very hyper-aware on an internal level, on a very, very deep reflective level, going through some revision of their social and intellectual connections in their life. So Venus in Gemini may have affection in witty conversations. And there may be a lot of affection when it comes to just the way they express love is through conversation, being very, very funny and spontaneous. You can think of like two Greek gods on their phones, which just doesn't exist. But anyway, Venus in Gemini people are spontaneous and free. They, I have Venus in Gemini, and I do not want to be tied down in relationship. I want to be free, and I need the intellectual stimulation. Like how I connect is through intellectual connection, intellectual stimulation, and conversation. That's my love language as somebody who has Venus in Gemini in their chart. And maybe I'll do a podcast on my placement of Venus in Gemini. I did a video already on my channel, but I kind of want to do these placements again because I want to go deeper with these placements, that I did back in 2025 when I started filming the sun through the signs and moon through the signs and all that. So they don't want to be tied down in relationship. They don't want to be tied down. They want to be free to explore what they want to explore in terms of the curiosity. They want to be curious and exploratory with their mind, with their ideas. Now, they don't want to be bogged down in the heavy and emotional aspects of their relationships. Gemini wants to keep things light and fun and intellectual and stimulating. It's not about getting caught in the heavy emotions of relationships, taking a breath and really dropping into your body and connecting with your own emotions and others' emotions, really, really leaning into those emotions. So it's very, very difficult for this person to do this when it comes to leaning into the deeper emotions, but because it's retrograde, this person is deeper. Like you're connecting deeper with others in more deep, profound ways of communication, rather than the superficial, light and airy ways, as it would probably be more so if this placement was direct. And I actually was born during the Venus retrograde, because I'm in Aries, with my sun at mid-degree of Aries. And so Venus is, Venus is in signs 2 before the sun, the sign of the sun, or 2 after. And so I was born during the transit where Venus would go retrograde in Gemini. And so, because I have Venus in very, very early degree Gemini, and I have my Sun at mid-degree Aries, so that can kind of tell you already. So, they don't want to be bogged down in that. And maybe they have tastes in things that change. Like they have a lot of taste in things about their life that may get altered around and change often. That may be very, very huge, with this particular person. So their tastes in things may change. Where they're interested in one thing, like trend or fashion or whatever, or interest, and then it may change. Like love interest. Like they may be interested in one person and another person. That's Gemini energy. Now, they need to swim in a sea of variety. I personally need to see a variety. I have both my Venus and my Mars in Gemini, so I need variety and stimulation. If I don't have variety and stimulation, then I feel very, very motivated. Now, over the last 2 years, my Venus and Mars are just shut down. My Mars was shut down, and it went to sleep for over 3 years. And now it's woken up again, and now I'm just sprung back to life again. So, Venus square Mars is one of the aspects going on. So this may mean this person is very, very passionate. So Venus in Gemini squaring Mars in Pisces, which I'm going to talk about. So this person may be very, very passionate about their life. They may have a very active, romantic, and sexual life. That may be a huge trait with this person. That trait is very, very strong. They may be very, very creative, especially with the Mars in Pisces, which I'm going to talk about. Very creative individuals, and very driven, because Mars is driven to express that creativity out into the world, to openly express it. Now, they may also be quick to anger in their relationships. They react quickly to things that happen in their relationships. If someone, angers them or whatever, they're going to react quickly, and they're going to outwardly express their anger, but they're not going to hold on to it. Like Aries is a sign that, like, I'm openly expressing my anger, but I'm not holding on to it. I'm moving on to the next quest, the next, a net pine for my life that I have, which is a goal, basically. I shouldn't even have to explain. Anyway. But they forget about this anger. Now, another thing is that they need to learn moderation. When they're overdoing something, and I'm like, why am I doing this video? It's the new moon. It's time to reflect. Well, I'm doing it anyway. So they need to moderate themselves. They absolutely need to moderate themselves when it comes to how they engage in what they're passionate about and romantic relationships, of not going all in, of not being overly assertive or overly controlling or overly domineering when it comes to making the first move and getting in there in that relationship. Moving on to Mars. Mars is basically how you act. It's your way of acting. It's your way of asserting yourself. Mars is in Pisces at 17 degrees. If I'm getting it right. Let me just check the chart again to make sure that the degree... And Mars is actually conjunct the North Node in this person's chart. So let me just put in the information again, just to check the degree of Mars, to make sure if I'm accurate about that. That Mars is at 17 degrees. Let's just check. Mars is at 17 degrees. The North Node is at 17 degrees. So yeah, they're exactly conjunct. They're exactly holding hands with one another in this person's chart. So their purpose and path in this life, and their destiny in this life, what their soul needs to go towards happiness, fulfillment, and how they want to assert themselves is aligned. Like if they assert themselves and go in the direction, like these are aligned. and it's in Pisces. This person is meant to trust their intuition. Because their North Node in Pisces is about intuition, leaning into your intuition, and Mars in Pisces is very much about intuition. So this person feels a lot of fulfillment and acts in ways that are very intuitive, and as a result, they find a lot of joy and peace, inner peace in their life when they trust their intuition. Let's talk about Mars and Pisces. They are very indirect. Mars in Aries, for example, is very direct. Like, I have a direction, I have a goal to aim towards. They are not like this. They are very indirect. Swimming around an obstacle and going around somebody instead of going directly at them. Like, they approach conflict in a very indirect way. They're not addressing their needs directly. They're kind of being vague and kind of being half-assed when it comes to that. But they also go with the flow. They also have a very strong ability, people with Mars and Pisces, to go with the flow of life. To just go with their heart and what their intuition is telling them, and to just surrender to whatever's going on in life and just adapt. Like, Pisces is a mutable sign. It adapts through its intuition, through its emotions to life. And they may not know what they want. They may not be clear on what they want, and they may feel like, well, I want to go in this direction this time, and well, I want to go in that direction. So they kind of go back and forth between doing this here, doing this there, going in one direction, going in another direction. That's who they are. That's the direction that they aim towards and that they achieve towards in this life. So, they don't exactly know what they want to do. When it comes to this, and they may get swayed, and they may be there's maybe some lack of clarity on what they want to do. And they also need a creative outlet to express their desires. Like, Pisces is a creative sign, and they need some kind of creative outlet, whatever it may be, to express their creative energy, because Pisces is creative on a very internal, deep spiritual level. And you need to find an outlet for that creativity. Otherwise, you're getting so into yourself and not just letting it out. So this also represents building energy from deep emotion. Building energy from a very deep emotional place, when it comes to this very easily, is when it comes to, you have these emotions, and the energy builds based off of these emotions. Now, another thing with this is procrastination. Just procrastinating on things, sitting on something instead of actually actively doing it, because Pisces is very reflective, and, well, I'll do this here, and I'm just reflective and just flowing, and it's not like yang energy. It's not active, go, let's make it happen energy. That's not Pisces energy. So this person could suffer from procrastination. But at the high road, this person has, one of the high roads of Mars and Pisces is the empathy for others, and wanting to act in ways that show empathetic. Like, they believe in what is considered to be compassionate prosperity. What am I doing? How are my actions impacting others in a compassionate, loving way? They genuinely want to have empathy for others. Mars is trine Pluto. So this may mean that this person, Mars in Pisces, Pluto in Scorpio, this may mean that they are self-confident and determined with who they are. Very self-confident in who they are when it comes to what they want to do. They're very determined about this. They can be very passionate in terms of what they want to go out into the world. They're very fascinated. They're very into and absorbed into what they're doing, and they command a room. They command an audience. They're very commanding in terms of others around them in their life. So they have a strategy when they go about doing something. They have a strategy. They have a plan. Like, I have a plan to go and do all these things, and I have this map that I'm following. Now, Jupiter and Taurus. This person has Jupiter in Taurus, and I'm very, very envious of this person for this, because this would be my personal Jupiter placement if I had to choose a Jupiter placement. So there's a love for the sensual things in life, a love for the, the beautiful, like the food, the, the clothes, the petting of the dog, the, the shoes that you're wearing, the feel of the desk on your fingers, the feel of the grass outside, like a love for these sensual things. Saturn is in Sagittarius. This person kind of grew up in a way where they were challenged to, where they were authentic. Like, this person grew up, I do believe, I don't want to make any false assumptions, but this person grew up where they were limited to express their authentic self. They were limited to be their true self. And Saturn in Sagittarius is about breaking those limitations and going out and expressing your authentic self. And just wait till I get to Saturn in Sagittarius on my podcast about it. I'm going to be really delving into, for all the Saturn placements, there will be podcasts I'm thinking, and I'll delve into what Saturn in Sag is all about. But Saturn in Sagittarius individuals have their own way of thinking that is apart from others, and they need to break out of the mold. They need to break out of what everybody else is thinking, what everybody else wants in their life, and just have their own way of thinking that is apart from everyone else. But at the low level, they can get caught in this way of thinking that can make them very, very dogmatic and very, very, narrow and very, they can become self-righteous with, this is my truth, and I'm defending it, and I'm not, being curious and opening up to others, which is the Gemini North Node, which is, this person has a lot of Gemini in their chart, so I don't think that this person would run into those kind of issues with the Saturn placement, but this is kind of a negative pitfall with it. Now, the interesting thing is, in this person's chart, Saturn is conjunct Uranus. So, they may really, really, Saturn and Uranus is like, I'm revolutionizing, I'm innovating, and I am committed to a goal to change my life up, and I am committed to being original. I'm committing to be ingenious, but in a way where I am persevering. I am staying the course of it. Saturn is trine Lilith. Or, excuse me, is Saturn trine Lilith? That might not be right. Let me just look here, because that doesn't seem to be correct to be like these details you want to just check for to make sure that you're accurate, because I'm highly doubting that. Yeah, it's very, very wide and out of sign. This may make this person very, very hard-working, and they may deal with shadows that deal with, their work ethic and having to face those shadows in their life, like, I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving enough to work, I didn't do enough work, the quality of my work is not very good, all those kind of conversations. Uranus is about liberty. It's about individual liberating yourself from the status quo. And Uranus in Sag is very bold and loud. It is very, very, much about being your authentic self and, traveling and exploring and having your beliefs and truth. That is, Uranus is very, very strong in Sagittarius. Because it's only 2 signs away from Aquarius, and Sagittarius and Aquarius are very similar signs. They're both about freedom and exploration. So, Uranus and Uranus trine Lilith may suggest this person may have love at first sight at times in their life. Like, seeing somebody, like, Uranus is like, love that is just, all of a sudden, Venus Uranus individuals like have this sudden love, like this sudden love attraction, this instant. And Uranus is like sudden, like, I'm suddenly connected to this person, I suddenly have this desire out of nowhere. And Uranus trine Lilith is very much about, well, you're trining, the part of you that is your shadow, so you may find this to be the case. Moving on to Neptune. Neptune is spiritual liberation. Neptune is not as opposed to intellectual liberation, but it is of more spiritual nature. You having love and compassion for yourself, and you're liberating yourself from all the limiting structures of people saying that you're not allowed to love yourself and that self-love is a selfish thing that you should engage in. Not Neptune, but it is in Capricorn. Neptune is in Capricorn, so this person is very, very compassionate, but they're sensible, but they're practical about it. Now, Neptune is trine the ascendant, so they're easily influenced by their environment. They're easily, very, very sensitive to their environment. They're very, sensitive to what is going on in that environment. Pluto in Scorpio makes this person very, very passionate, very, 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 like I have a desire. I have very, very strong desires, and I'm sticking to those desires. Lilith in Virgo. The lesson for Lilith in Virgo. With Lilith is your shadows. Lilith is your shadows of what you're afraid to express, of what you oppress, and what you probably are rejected for expressing. And Virgo is very much about details and being very, very critical and being very analytical and logical. So this person may have difficulty at paying attention to the details, and whenever they pay attention to the details, whenever they try to help and micromanage and compensate, if that's the word for others, then this is the shadow quality of them. And the lesson in this life is to lean into self-acceptance. And what is so interesting is that this person's Lilith is in the same sign as their South Node. And the lesson overlaps. So with the Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node, self-acceptance, leaning into the energy of I accept myself as I am. Not, trying to control yourself or change yourself or judge yourself, but this person is really leaning into accepting themselves as they are. And not wanting to be around those who don't respect them and don't accept them as they are. And this person did believe that I, myself, didn't accept them as they are with what I projected onto them, which is not what I was intending at all. I just didn't approach it in a very, very clear way. I just was very, I approached it wrong, not the right way to approach my, what I had to say to this person, in comments. So, the North Node and South Node, the North Node being in Pisces is letting go, the letting go of the need to overthink. Like Virgo overthinks and gets so caught up in the head and what do I need to do and what are all these plans. Pisces is about surrender. It's about relaxing. It's getting out of the mind and the mental chatter, and it's just leading into your intuition and leading into your emotions and all those kind of things like that. So that is the natal chart of somebody born June 19th, 1988. And I should clarify that this person was probably born in the early morning hours because they have a Taurus rising. So with these videos, I will make a specific rising sign. For some of them, I don't know, but the rising sign does matter, so it will be specific to that time. But just I can't do all the rising signs for each of these because it's too exhausting. I can't do that. So I have all these videos in mind, all these dates in mind, but I'm going to do when I feel like it. I'm not going to be, compulsive and just, I got to get this video done because it's on my mind and I want to do it one after the other. Like, that's, no. Whenever I feel in the mood, whenever I feel cold, I will come on and do a video. That is the astrology of the natal chart of somebody born June 19th, 1988. So, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode of the Vastness of Google podcast. Take good care. I'll connect with you again soon.